Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about a piece of technology that's aiming to solve one of the biggest, most persistent roadblocks in web3. So let's just jump right in.
I want to start with a really fundamental question. For all the amazing innovation we've seen in this space, what is that one single thing that's really holding blockchain back from being adopted by, mainstream businesses and everyday people? Well, the answer really boils down to just one word: privacy. It turns out that the very thing that makes blockchain so powerful, that incredible radical transparency, is also its greatest weakness when it comes to real-world application. So, for our first section, let's unpack that idea a little bit more. Let's talk about blockchain's transparency problem.
This right here really gets to the heart of the conflict. On one hand, you have what blockchains offer: total transparency. Every transaction, every interaction, it's all public, it's all auditable, and it's there forever. But then you look at what businesses actually need to function. They need a public side, sure, but they absolutely need a private side. They just can't put sensitive things like their finances or customer data on a public ledger for the whole world to scrutinize.
And this isn't some new discovery. If you look at the evolution of blockchain, each generation brought something huge to the table. Bitcoin gave us decentralized money. Then Ethereum came along with programmable smart contracts. And more recently, chains like Cardano have been tackling scalability and governance. But they all hit the same wall. We call it the transparency compromise. And it's this wall that has kept literally trillions of dollars of real-world assets locked out of the ecosystem. It's the wall this new tech is designed to tear down.
Which brings us right to Section 2. Let's talk about the technology that's been designed to break through that wall. It's called Midnight, and it's built around a concept they call rational privacy.
I love this quote because it captures the shift in thinking so perfectly. The early days of the internet were built on promises like "don't be evil," and, well, we've all seen how that can turn out. The goal here is completely different. It's about creating systems that can't be evil by their very design, where the fundamental rules of the system itself just prevent the misuse of data.
So, this brings us to that core idea: rational privacy. Now, this isn't about hiding everything or making it all secret. It's really about control. The idea is that your data is private by default, but you, whether you're an individual or a business, have the power to choose exactly what you want to share, who you want to share it with, and for how long. It's about putting the power back where it belongs, with the owner of the data. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? Let's move on to Section 3, where we'll break down the tech in a way that's, hopefully, really easy to understand. The magic ingredient here is a type of cryptography called zero-knowledge proofs, or ZK proofs for short. And honestly, the best analogy I've heard for it is the game Where's Waldo. So picture one of those super busy pages. You've found Waldo. A ZK proof is like being able to prove to me that you found him without actually pointing to his location. You prove the fact is true without revealing the secret data itself. And here's a perfect real-world example of that. Imagine you're at a bar, and the bartender asks if you're over 21. The way we do it now is you hand over your driver's license. But think about all the extra information you're giving away. Your full name, your home address, your exact birthday, your height, weight, all sorts of things. The Midnight way is totally different. You'd provide a simple cryptographic proof that confirms only one piece of information. Yes, I'm over 21. That's it. Everything else stays private. Now, what's really interesting is that this technology isn't meant to live on its own little island. A huge part of the design is how it can work with the blockchains you already know and probably already use. And that brings us to what's called the hybrid dApp model.
This is the key. This is a real game changer. Midnight isn't trying to create yet another isolated ecosystem and pull everyone over. The whole point is that you don't have to leave your favorite chain. If you're building on Ethereum or Cardano or any other, it's designed to be a service for you, for everyone.
So let's walk through how this would actually work. Say you have a decentralized application, a dApp, running on Ethereum, and it needs to process some kind of private transaction. That dApp can just make a call to a smart contract on Midnight. Midnight then does all the private computation and verification stuff in the background. Then it sends a verified result, a proof, back to the Ethereum dApp. So the sensitive details stay completely confidential, but the outcome is still cryptographically secure and trusted. So once you have this new capability, it opens up a whole universe of new possibilities. In Section 5, let's just touch on a few of the real-world use cases that finally become possible. But first, let's just talk about the scale we're dealing with. The market for tokenizing real-world assets, things like stocks, real estate, bonds, is massive. Some experts are predicting it could be over $10 trillion. But none of that can really come on-chain without privacy. I mean, no serious financial institution is going to tokenize its assets if it means all their competitors can see their entire playbook. And it goes so far beyond just finance. Think about it. With rational privacy, you could build DeFi that's actually compliant with regulations for trading securities. In healthcare, you could prove to a new doctor that you have a certain medical record without them ever seeing the sensitive details inside it. For supply chains, companies can protect their trade secrets. Even in gaming, you could finally have on-chain games where your strategy, or maybe the cards in your hand, actually stay hidden from your opponents.
Okay, let's move to our final section and look at how all of this builds towards a much bigger, more cooperative vision for the entire Web3 space.
This analogy is just perfect. Think about the Intel Inside jingle. You don't really care that there's an Intel chip in your laptop, you just trust that it's there in the background, making everything work reliably. And that really should be the end goal for blockchain technology, right? To become this invisible, essential layer that powers the apps we use every day without us even having to think about it.
And the way this is achieved is through a model called cooperative economics. Midnight is being built as a service for other blockchains. So if you're a developer on Ethereum building one of these hybrid dApps, you can just pay the transaction fees in Ether. A developer on Solana pays in Sol. A Cardano developer pays in ADA. It's meant to feel like a seamless extension of their own platform, not some competing chain they have to migrate to.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. For so long, it felt like we had to make a choice between the private, centralized systems of the old world and the transparent, decentralized systems of Web3. But that was always a false choice. The real question, the exciting question, is this. If we can finally combine the trust and security of blockchain with the kind of privacy that the real world demands, what are we going to build next?